So finally we have 3.0 patch notes, and as expected, it is a very long read. It took me 2 hours to read and take notes, and I'm gonna try to make a short video as possible and talk about the most important changes. I will try to keep it simple without too much numbers. If you want more detailed version, you can always check patch notes, or watch our YouTubers doing 30 minutes videos. So let's start. I'm sure you already know there is 6 new acts, Cruel and Merciless has been removed, and we got new Pantheon system. Next, the game is much more polished. It now has a proper help panel to help new players learn about the game. It now has passive skill tree planning system. I have no idea what this means. Maybe it is like in game path of building? I don't know. We did not have it on beta. The game itself looks much prettier and runs smoother. It has new dynamic resolution. Basically, it tries to maintain the set amount of FPS by lowering your graphic settings, so the game becomes more pixelated, but it runs smoother. If you had problems with the game before, definitely try it now. Next, we got 3 new skills. Dark Pact sacrifices either your skeletons or your life to do chaos damage. Storm Burst, lightning channeling skill, releases piercing projectiles while channeling, which explode when you stop channeling. And Charge Dash, which is another channeling skill, but is also movement skill. Then we got a bunch of new support gems, and some changes to all support gems. Next, minor changes. Some kind of new vendor recipe. Then we got a cool new sound effects for drops, even voice drops for currency orbs. We may need filter modification to enable them, I'm not sure. Then currency stash got more slots. You can now queue up mine detonation. Then we got new minimap, looks better, but loads slower. New keyword, far shot, gain damage with range. Next, we got Harbinger League. Basically spawns monsters, kill them, and get new and old currency shards. Then, big bandit reward changes. Players who want to change their bandit reward choice have a one-time only option to change it by talking to Aramir and taking one of his books. Helping O grants 1% of life regen per second, 2% additional physical damage reduction, and 20% increased physical damage. Helping Alira grants 5 mana regen per second, plus 20 global crit strike multiplier, and plus 50 all elemental resistances. Helping Kraken grants 6% increased attack and cast speed, 3% chance to dodge attacks, 6% increased movement speed. Aramir grants 2 skill points. 5 more pages. Next, rebalance around removal of cruel and merciless difficulties. New penalties applies at the end of Act 5 and 10. They will be shown in chat when you get them and persist even in hideout, so you will always know how much resistance you will have before going into maps. Access to Labryinth has been reworked. There is now an Aspirant Plaza with Weapon, and through there you can access all the labyrinths. You now need 6 trials for normal, 3 trials for cruel, and another 3 trials for merciless lab. Uber lab remains unchanged. Normal and cruel lab are much shorter, like 1 room and then Zara, 1 room and then Zara, or 2 rooms. There are also many changes to Zara fights, but basically Zara got nerfed, so it is easier for new players and generally more pleasant to deal with labs. Many prophecies has also been changed, reworked. Sewers in Act 3 has been changed and there is only 1 sewer, so get all 3 quest items in 1 sewer before exiting it. Next, changes to charges. There were bigger changes but they have been reverted, and power charges now have slightly lower crit chance, from 50 down to 40%. Next, chill and choke changes. Basically, we now have fixed duration, but the damage done increases their effectiveness. Chill ground, shock ground and Val Lightning Trap got nerfed. All bosses lost their immunity to chill and shock. Some item changes to reflect the change to chill and shocks. Next, damage over time rework. No more double dipping. Bleed on enemies now does more damage while stationary, and will now deal half of the full damage. Bleed on you is the same as before. Ignite, poison or bleed values are separate damage values. It is complicated to explain in short, so read the damage over time rework, but basically it is much harder to get good damage on bleed, poison and ignite. Bleed and poison are now considered ailments like ignites, which changes how you scale their duration. Character screen now displays value of ignites, bleed and poison damage per second for applicable skills. Now, because of these changes, some ailments on you have become much more dangerous. Next, skill changes. There are many, so I'll go quickly. Traps and mines are now invulnerable while they are arming. All minions other than Raging Spirits deal more damage at lower levels. Summon Raging Spirits now deal approximately 50% less damage at all levels. Summon skeletons now only summon 1 skeleton, has shorter cast time, mana cost reduced by around 60%, and has only max of 5 skeleton. Skeleton warriors and mages got buffs to their DPS and will no longer flee slowly like idiots. Raid zombies have had their damage increased up to 45% more damage at level 20 than previously. Auros and curses now has base radius like many other skills. Cyclone moves better and does not get stuck. Vortex and Ice Nova now deal 40% more damage when cast on Frostbolt. Caustic Arrow, Contagion, Essence Drain, Blight got buffed in damage. Righteous Fire skill got nerfed, 20% less damage to enemies at all levels. More spell damage nerfed, 20% at minimum and 59% more to maximum, down from 58. Fire Trap damage over time got buffed. Scorching Ray nerfed. ES from Discipline nerfed, but now has 30% energy shield recharge rate. Glacial Cascade damage got buffed, now deals fully physical damage, which is 60% converted into cold. Range reduced but gains +1 range per 10 gem levels. Summoner Totems have 45% less life and take 45% less damage. RIP RF Totems? Viper Strike got nerfed in every way. Wall skills can no longer be supported by Spell Echo or Multistrike. Next, Support Gem Balance. Added cold and lighting support gems have been buffed to bring them on par with added hair's damage. Melee damage on full life support gem has been renamed to damage on full life support, which means it is no longer restricted to melee. Melee physical damage support now grants 30% more damage with bleed and poison caused by melee hits at level 1. Physical projectile attack damage support now also grants 30% more damage with bleed and poison caused by projectile hits. Increased burning damage support is now burning damage and is now more multiplier. Weapon elemental damage support has been renamed to elemental damage with attack support, which means it works with unarmed. Rapid decay renamed to swift affliction and also got small buff. Innervate support has been reworked, now also adds flat lighting damage and grants innervation buff on killing shocked enemies, which gives flat lighting damage. Now has 130% mana multiplier. Very similar rework to Ice Bite, gives flat cold damage and then flat cold damage per frenzy charge. 50% chance to gain frenzy charge on killing frozen enemy. Chain support damage penalty now only applies to hits, but not ailments. 2 more page and I'm losing my voice. Next, Pierce got reworked. In short, basically, chance to pierce is now always 100% chance, but it now has X number of targets pierced. All kind of changes on passive skill tree and items to reflect this pierce changes. Next, item balance. Divination cards adjusted. ES from all sources nerfed by around 20%. Base ES values on gears nerfed by around 33%. Armor on body armor buffed by around 20%. Basalt flask now 50% down from 20. New suffixes to cause bleed and poison. Also chance to ignite, freeze and shock. Mods to increase burning, poison and bleed damage. Strength based shield has now implicit that grants life, while dexterity based implicit that gives increased movement speed. Hybrid dex int shield reworked and now grants either dodge or spell dodge. New mods to certain shields. Increased elemental damage, increased physical damage, increased armor and block, % life regen, life and mana gain on block, dodge chance, spell dodge, spell block, chance to avoid ailments, increased attack and cast speed, increased attack damage, chance to avoid stun. Other changes to armor include a hybrid life for all, % reduce physical damage taken, dodge chance, % energy shield regeneration. New weapon prefixes, increased fire damage, increased cold damage, increased lighting damage. All unique items that previously granted poison on hit now only grants 60% chance to poison on hit. All sources of +2 skeletons now only +1. Leo's crafted damage over time taken is heavily nerfed, down to 5% from 20, basically useless. Decay from Essence of Delirium now deals 500 damage per second, down from 750, and its duration has been reduced to 8 seconds, down from 10. Essence of Delirium on body armor now reduces the house damage over time taken by 25%, down from 50. Next, unique item balance. There are quite a lot of buffs and nerfs, but I'll just mention the biggest changes. The timing got a huge buff, like twice bigger numbers, but Ember Wake is now screwed. It now only gives +1 additional ignite and has some more additional buffs. Hand of Wisdom and Action got nerf for dual wield, but buff for single wield. Same for Brutus LED Sprinkler. The rest of changes seems to be just a small nerfs and buffs. Next, passive tree balance. New keystone between Scion and Shadow, Perfect Agony. Modifiers from crit strike multiplier also apply to damage multiplier for ailments from critical strikes at 30% of their value. 30% less damage with hits. Confusing, I know. In beta it was 70%, but it was heavily nerfed. New keystone near duelist. Crimson Dance, 50% less bleeding damage. Bleeding can be stacked up to 8 times. Bleeding doesn't do extra damage while target is moving. Because of chill and shock changes, some passives also have changes for them, but basically they have buffs. The passive skills behind House Inculation has been removed. Falcon Punch to the nuts to all CI builds. Some nerfs to crit. Ghost Reaver now grants 50% less energy shield recharge rate in addition to granting Leech Life as energy shield. Wallpack now only applies to Leech Life. Next, Ascendancy 3 balance. The biggest changes are to Shadow and Cyan. The Trickster's Swift Killer skill now also grants +1 to maximum power charges and 5% increased damage over time per frenzy and power charge. The Assassin's Toxic Delivery skill has been reduced to 30% more damage with bleeding and poison from bleeding and poison inflicted with critical strikes, down from 100%. The Assassin's Deadly Infusion skill no longer grants 0.5% critical strike chance per power charge. It now grants +1 to maximum power charges and +2% to critical strike chance while at maximum power charges. Other buffs here and there, and also a bunch of changes to Ascendant. More changes to Ascendant than all other classes combined, but I'm not gonna mention them. Next, monster balance. Many unique monsters which were previously immune to ailments have had their immunities removed, with the exception of Freeze. Notably, this includes several Beyond bosses, the Atziri trio, Atziri herself, the Shaper and his guardians among others. Rejoice! Volatiles have been reworked. On death they do not explode instantly, but they turn into a ball which chases you, and if it touches you, it starts its detonation but not immediately, so you have time to escape. So now it is much easier to deal with volatiles. You know those lighting orbs used by Ash Breaches? Their damage has been reduced by 8% and they can no longer stun players. It only took 2 leagues to finally nerf them. Invasion boss's life increased by 50%. Slaying Hillock will guarantee that he drops a free socket, free color starter weapon for your class. The average experience per monster has been slightly reduced at higher levels. Almost done. Map balance. Map boss's life has been significantly increased. It varies, but in beta it was around 2.5 times more life. Guardian life is unchanged. Since I don't see any reward changes to bosses, I can only assume that killing bosses is now completely useless. Just waste of time. Breaches can now be encountered in 10% of maps by default. The Shaper now prevents players from opening portals while fighting him. Zana has 50% more life during the Shaper encounter. The grace period when re-entering Shaper encounter mid-fight has been reduced to 3 seconds. Porcupine Goliath in maps now have 70% chance to release spikes on death, down from 100%. Further balance the monster density of endgame maps. Some have been lowered and some have been raised. We can only assume they nerfed Shape Strand. Next, Zana League mods. Level 2 Onslaught, Level 3 Bloodlines, Level 4 Beyond, Level 5 Ambush, Level 6 Perandus, Level 7 Nemesis, and Level 8 Breach. And finally, world changes. Some waypoint location has been changed and they have been moved from one zone to another zone, but they are always easy to find. Dried Lake has been nerfed, but you don't need it anymore. And then there is a big list of bug changes, but I'm not gonna mention them, because this video is already over 10 minutes. And that is all for the patch notes. In 3.0 I am going to play Stormburst. The league starts Friday night at my time zone, but I assume there's going to be a huge queue, so most likely I'm not gonna play it until Saturday evening. Then no live for 2 days, and the next video is most likely going to be near the end of the next week. By the way, I have ordered a new microphone, which should arrive next week. Who knows, maybe I will try streaming, just for fun. So that's it for this long video. Thank you for watching or just listening, and see you next week, probably. Good luck!